They smiled like they'd waited a lifetime. At Jacksonville International Airport, she rushed forward, dropped everything in her hands, and jumped into his arms. He caught her like he had nothing else in the world to hold on to. Phones came up. Strangers clapped. Someone caught the moment on video. It spread across social media. A caption read, 6 years apart, 3 years in prison, finally together. For 30-year-old Yannelis de la Caridad Casales, this was the day she'd counted down to. Her boyfriend, Carlos Yordanis Aldana, was finally here from Cuba. He just served time behind bars, and now he was stepping into a new life. With her, their embrace was long, her laughter real. His smile didn't flicker. She looked up at him like nothing could ever go wrong again. 2 weeks later, she was dead, inside their apartment, where she once unpacked his things and made dinner for the first time in years. Officers found her body. She'd been stabbed, again and again. Carlos was outside when police arrived. Blood on his leg, a wound on his hand. Silent. What could cause a reunion like that to end this way? What happened inside that apartment? And why? Let us know in the comments. How do you think a love story like this ends in tragedy? They met in Cuba. Young, restless, full of plans. She was visiting family. He worked nearby. Charming, funny, bold. From the start, he made it clear he wanted more than a conversation. Yannelis didn't expect it to last. Vacations end. Flights return. But they kept talking. Video calls, late-night texts, gifts exchanged through mutual friends. For 6 years, they kept their connection alive, even as their lives moved in completely different directions. Then came the news. Carlos was arrested. Details were never shared publicly. There were whispers, a fight, a weapon, a short trial. He disappeared into a Cuban prison, and no one, not even Yannelis, knew exactly what happened. Still, she waited. She worked 2 jobs in Florida, cleaned houses by day, waited tables by night. Her savings went toward immigration paperwork, private calls to lawyers. She sent him clothes, books, her voice in recorded messages, her face in photos he kept hidden in his cell. On Instagram, she posted throwbacks, pictures of their time together, captions like, "One day closer to our forever. I'll wait for you, no matter how long it takes. You don't need the world. You just need one person to believe in you." For her followers, it was romantic, unshakable, even admirable. But not everyone supported it. Her mother was worried. Her cousin warned her. A friend stopped speaking to her altogether after an argument about Carlos's past. They said she didn't really know him. That prison changes people. That distance hides the worst things about someone. She never answered those comments. Instead, she shared a photo of a simple white dress, captioned only, "Waiting." And when Carlos was finally released, he didn't go back to his old life. He came straight to her. That part surprised everyone, even her. The application went through. The plane touched down. The reunion happened exactly like she imagined, at least on the outside. But why, after 6 years apart, did she hesitate to tag him in her reunion post? Why did she turn off comments on that video? Why did she start posting less? Viewers, have you ever experienced a long-distance relationship? Share your experiences in the comments. And tell us, would you wait 6 years for someone you loved? Even if you didn't know everything they were hiding? Before we continue, take a second to hit that like button. It really helps the channel. And let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We love seeing how far these stories reach. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. March 16th, Gate C at Jacksonville International. A crowd waited at the terminal doors. Some held flowers. Others stared at their phones. Yannelis stood still, lips pressed tight. a white hoodie pulled up like a shield. Her hands trembled, not from nerves, but from holding back tears. And then he walked out. Carlos, thinner than she remembered, eyes scanning until they locked on hers. In that instant, every mile, every year, every sleepless night collapsed into one breath. She ran to him. She just dropped her bag and flew into his arms. Oh my God, this is like a movie. The video shows him holding her off the ground. She's laughing, gasping between sobs. People around them clapped. One woman wipes her eyes and whispers, 6 years? They stood like that for nearly a minute, not speaking, just holding each other. The clip went viral in under an hour. Shared on Instagram, then TikTok, then Twitter. Thousands of comments poured in. This is real love. I'm crying and I don't even know them. They deserve the world. Yannelis reposted the video with a caption. Finally, 3 red hearts. No words, no tags, just finally. But behind the camera, a few things didn't make it into the footage. She stepped back first. Her smile faltered when she noticed his face, the faint scar above his eyebrow. A fresh one, not for prison, recent. He didn't ask how she'd been. He didn't ask how the flight was covered. Instead, his first words to her, picked up faintly in the background, were, "Did you bring the papers?" She nodded, reached in her bag, handed them over. That moment, the one that captured hearts across the internet, was only part of the story. No one saw her flinch when he squeezed her hand too tightly, or the way she looked over her shoulder before they left the airport. Later that night, she shared a story, a blurry picture of her kitchen with 2 plates on the table. The caption read, "He's home." No emoji, no music, just those words. And it vanished in 24 hours. What emotions do you feel watching that reunion? Was it joy, relief, or something else? Let us know below, because sometimes even the brightest moments carry echoes no one wants to hear. And just 10 days later, those echoes would be replaced by silence. March 30th. The neighbors hadn't seen her in 2 days. At first, it didn't seem strange. She kept to herself, worked long hours. But on that Saturday morning, her car was still parked in the same spot. Grocery bags from 3 days ago sat unopened by her door. One neighbor knocked. No answer. At 9:42 a.m., someone called 911. The apartment was quiet when officers arrived. No signs of forced entry. Just a faint smell coming from inside. The kind of smell that stops a person mid-step. Carlos wasn't inside. He was found outside the complex, sitting on the curb, shirtless, bleeding. One officer noted how calm he seemed. Blood on his shin, a deep gash along his left hand. He stared ahead, not speaking. When asked what happened, he said one thing. "I lost everything." Inside the apartment, it was chaos. Yannelis was found in the living room. The scene told a story long before anyone spoke a word. Furniture overturned. Her phone cracked. A broken picture frame, the photo of their airport reunion, shattered in the corner. She had been stabbed multiple times. No weapon was found near her. No signs of forced entry. No defensive wounds on Carlos. What was found was a note, scribbled on a receipt. Just 5 words, written in her handwriting. "I tried to love him." 2 knives were missing from the kitchen. One was later recovered in a dumpster nearby. Fingerprints smeared, but DNA confirmed. Blood matched both of them. Police canvassed the building. One neighbor, shaken and still in her robe, told officers she heard yelling the night before. She was crying, she said. It sounded like she was begging. The 911 call log revealed 2 earlier calls from that same address. One 10 days prior. One just 4 days before the murder. Both were marked dispute, verbal only. No arrests were made either time. Surveillance footage showed Carlos leaving the building alone. No panic, no rush. He walked outside, sat on the curb, and waited. By noon, the complex was blocked off. Yellow tape, flashing lights, reporters already circling. The story was no longer about a reunion. It was about what happens when hope meets something it can't change. Viewers, what are your thoughts on the initial findings? Do they tell you enough or raise more questions? Share your perspectives below and stay with us because what Carlos told the neighbor next changes everything. A few minutes after 9 a.m., a neighbor stepped outside to smoke. Her security camera was rolling, motion trigger tucked just above the front door. What she caught wasn't expected. Carlos stood barefoot on the sidewalk, pacing, shirt balled in his fist, one leg streaked with blood. He walked toward her, then stopped, looked down, then up. "She's gone," he said. The neighbor didn't understand. "What do you mean?" He swallowed. His voice was quiet. The camera caught it. "I killed her." No shouting, no panic, just those 3 words. And then, "It was me. I did it." She backed away and ran inside. The door slammed. The footage ends. The police reviewed the video later that afternoon. No sign of coercion. No hesitation. No signs he was under the influence. Just a straight admission. According to CyberCuba, Carlos had called another person earlier that morning, someone still in Cuba, and said something similar. That call was not recorded, but the timing matched. NBC 6 South Florida reported the confession helped clarify the timeline. It placed the murder close to midnight, the night before the body was found. No forced entry, no defensive wounds on Carlos, but deep cuts on his hand, consistent with losing grip on a weapon. Prosecutors moved quickly. The charge was upgraded from second-degree to first-degree murder. Premeditation now in question. Social media exploded. Followers of Yannelis' memorial page began reposting the video of their reunion, but this time with a different caption. He held her like he'd never let go. Then he did. Creators picked apart the airport video frame by frame. One noticed something strange. Carlos was wearing a black band on his wrist during the reunion, the same band not found on him at the time of the arrest. A small detail, still unexplained. Then there was the voicemail. Yannelis had left one for her cousin the night before she died. It wasn't discovered until her phone was unlocked. "If anything happens to me," she whispered, "please tell Mommy I'm sorry." How does this confession impact your view of the case? Comment below, because even when someone confesses, the truth is often tangled in everything they didn't say. Carlos Yordanis Aldana stood before a judge on April 2nd. At first, the charge was second-degree murder, a crime of passion. No planning, just rage and impulse. But that changed. The state attorney's office reviewed the surveillance footage, crime scene photos, the statement from the neighbor, and one quiet but crucial piece of evidence. That handwritten note. "I try to love him," combined with the voicemail and the scratches on her arms that suggested a struggle. Prosecutors saw more than a sudden burst of violence. They saw intent. The charge was escalated to first-degree murder. If convicted, Carlos could face life in prison without parole, or even the death penalty, depending on how the case develops. CyberCuba reported that the Cuban-American community in Jacksonville split into 2 very different reactions. Some believed the system was moving too slowly. They gathered outside the courthouse with signs that read, "Justice for Yannelis." She was more than a headline. Others, quietly, questioned whether Carlos's years in prison had left scars no one had seen. One man, who claimed to have served time with him in Cuba, said, "He changed in there. People don't come out the same." Before we continue with the heartbreaking story, I need to pause for a moment. If you're watching this video right now, chances are you know someone, a friend, a family member, or maybe even yourself who's dealing with a difficult situation. You might see the signs, but feel helpless about what to do. Here's what I want you to do right now. If this story resonates with you, hit that subscribe button and share this video. Because somewhere out there, someone needs to hear this story. Someone needs to know they're not alone. The more we talk about these situations, the more lives we might save. Drop a heart emoji in the comments. A memorial was held outside her apartment. Friends, coworkers, and neighbors left flowers, photos, notes. Her landlord made a statement to local press. She paid her rent early. Always smiled. I never expected something like this. A post by her cousin gained traction. It read, "She loved him more than she loved herself." And that's what killed her. At the first court hearing, Carlos appeared via video. No family in the courtroom. No expression on his face. When asked if he understood the charges, he nodded once. The defense requested a mental health evaluation. The court approved. That evaluation could change everything. If he's found unfit, the trial may be delayed. Or worse, his team may claim he wasn't fully aware of what he was doing. And if that happens, how do you weigh guilt against history? Trauma against intent? Regret against violence? The trial is expected to last months. Each hearing brings new details. Pieces of a relationship that, to the outside world, once looked like a fairy tale. Viewers, do you believe the charges are appropriate? Why or why not? Tell us in the comments. Because when justice moves slowly, opinions move quickly. And not everyone agrees on what punishment fits a broken love. Before he landed in Florida, before the cameras captured that emotional embrace at the airport, Carlos Yordanis Aldana was inmate number 26719 in a Cuban detention center just outside of Holguin. He wasn't there for theft or drugs. According to CyberCuba, Carlos had been convicted of aggravated assault with a weapon. The full report was hard to access, sealed under Cuban federal privacy laws, but local sources say the incident involved a former partner and a violent domestic dispute. The sentence? 3 years. Early release granted for good behavior. Yannelis knew about the prison time. She'd written to him while he was behind bars. However, what is unclear is how much of the original crime she was aware of. When she applied for his visa on humanitarian grounds, the application included a basic criminal check. Cuba, however, does not always disclose detailed violent crime histories to U.S. immigration unless specifically requested. The U.S. process flagged nothing disqualifying. So he arrived, and that decision, that lack of detail, may have changed everything. A close friend of Yannelis told NBC6 she once asked if Carlos had ever raised his voice to her during phone calls. Her answer? He gets frustrated sometimes. Prison did that to him. He says no one listens unless he yells. Another friend mentioned a text from Yannelis just days before the murder. He's different here. It's like I waited for a stranger. Carlos had no documented violence in the U.S. He had no job, no social media, and rarely left the apartment. Neighbors described him as quiet, but they noticed something odd. He'd sometimes sit on the balcony, staring for hours. No phone, no music, just sitting, watching. One neighbor thought he was meditating. Another said it gave her chills. So many red flags. Tiny ones. Easy to miss when love is louder than doubt. Should someone's past criminal record be a factor in immigration and relationship decisions? Share your thoughts below, because in this case, history wasn't just forgotten. It was sealed until it was too late. In the days that followed the tragedy, a silence settled over Yannelis' apartment complex. The front door, once decorated with a welcome sign and a small Cuban flag, now had yellow tape fluttering in the breeze. Inside, her belongings remained untouched. Shoes by the door. A note on the fridge reminding her to call her mother. The life she built in Florida, piece by piece over 6 years, ended in an instant. Her family, still in Cuba, received the news through a video call. Her mother collapsed after hearing the words. Her father didn't speak for hours. Her sister, in tears, asked the only question no one could answer. Why didn't anyone protect her? According to Cyber Cuba, efforts began immediately to repatriate her body. The cost of returning a loved one to Cuba for burial is high, nearly impossible for many families. But the community rallied. Within 48 hours, a GoFundMe campaign was created. Donations poured in from coworkers, classmates, neighbors, and strangers who had seen the reunion video online. If we can't give her justice yet, one donor wrote, let's at least give her peace. Photos surfaced. She is at her first job in Florida, smiling behind a bakery counter. Her at a birthday dinner with friends, holding a cake that read anonymous. One picture stood out. Her sitting by the ocean, headphones in, staring into the sunset. The caption from that day simply said, worth waiting for. The community held a candlelight vigil near the Arlington Expressway. Hundreds showed up. Children she used to tutor lit candles and paper cups. Her manager from the salon she worked at said, she was the kind of person who gave you compliments before you gave her your name. A local artist painted a mural in her honor, her eyes looking toward the sky, framed by mariposas, the Cuban butterfly. And yet, beneath the mourning, anger simmered. Community organizers demanded better protections for immigrants, especially women who sponsor partners from abroad. One activist asked, where are the red flags? Why weren't they taken seriously? Why is this happening again? Her cousin, who had been her closest link to Florida while Carlos was imprisoned, spoke through tears in a public post. She waited 6 years for him, and she never got a single year in return. To everyone watching, feel free to express condolences below. Or, if you've been through something like this, share your story. You never know who it might help, because sometimes the echo of one story becomes the lifeline in someone else's silence. Her final posts were filled with hearts, reunion hashtags, and messages of hope. A 6-second video of them laughing in the kitchen. A selfie from their first grocery run. Hundreds of likes. Dozens of comments. All saying the same thing. You two were meant to be. But behind the screen, no one saw the arguments. The tension. The shift. Domestic violence isn't always loud. Sometimes it's silent. It hides in moments that look like love until it's too late. According to a report referenced by Cyber Cuba, over 30% of Latin American women living abroad have experienced some form of partner-related abuse, but less than half report it. Many are afraid. Some don't trust the system. Others worry about deportation, shame, or judgment. Yannelis never filed a complaint. She never spoke of fear. She posted photos, smiled, replied to comments with emojis. And then she was gone. You inspired us. We failed you. In today's world, social media is often seen as proof. Proof of love. Proof of success. Proof that things are okay. But what if it hides more than it reveals? Viewers watched their reunion and saw a fairy tale. But no one saw the nights she sat alone while he paced. Or the moment she texted her cousin, he's too quiet. It's like I'm in the room with someone I don't know. One digital footprint. Millions of assumptions. As the story gained traction, debates began. Some asked, should couples coming from high-risk backgrounds receive counseling before reunification? Others demanded tighter regulations on spousal sponsorship, more background checks, mandatory therapy, regular wellness visits for recent immigrants and their partners. A survivor of domestic abuse wrote anonymously, if someone had asked me how I was doing, really asked, I might still be alive too. We can't rewind her story, but we can pay attention to the stories unfolding now. So let's talk. What measures can society take to prevent tragedies like this? Stricter policy? Better education? More open conversations? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Because silence isn't just what happens when someone's gone. It's what keeps them from being saved. Yannelis de la Caridad Casales was 30 years old. She had a smile that lit up rooms, dreams that stretched across borders, and a heart that believed in second chances. Yordanis Aldana was someone she waited for, someone she trusted, even after years apart. What began as a tearful reunion quickly unraveled into an unimaginable loss. Now it's your turn to speak. What are your final thoughts on this case? Do you think justice will be served? Should changes be made in how relationships are vetted and supported after prison? What role does the public play in protecting people like Yannelis? Leave a comment below. We're reading them. If this story moved you or made you think, please like, share, and subscribe. We cover real stories that matter, stories that are often missed in the scroll or buried behind the headlines. Because sometimes the difference between being forgotten and being remembered is someone hitting play. Thank you for watching, and